North American pitcher plants, like those behind me, with their endless varieties of colours, forms and sizes, really do have a big impact in any carnivorous plants garden, or any conventional garden for that matter as well. With their diversity in the way they look, there's also bound to be a plant to suit your tastes. In this video, I'm going to be explaining the differences amongst the species of North American pitcher plants in the way they look, at least the ones here at my nursery. I'm going to be explaining why there is such a big diversity of plants in the Saracenia genus. I'm also going to be explaining the difference between a cultivar, a naturally occurring variety, and a hybrid. It's all about giving you an appreciation of just how varied the plants are and why these plants are often considered to be the most rewarding carnivorous plants you can grow at home. My name is Jerry from Succulent Fly Traps. So we're going to be going over the differences amongst the species of North American pitcher plants. There's about 11 species in total. I've got about 4 species here at my nursery, which we're going to be going over. Now, if you want a more comprehensive guide as to differences amongst the plants, I've got a link to Wikipedia in the description box. Now, one of the species is Saracenia flava. They're probably the grandest and showiest of all the North American pitcher plants, and that's these big guys here behind me. Fortunately, all of these plants are for sale as pot plants. So if you want to get a nice North American pitcher plant that's going to have a massive impact, come and organise a visit here at my nursery and have a look. I've also got a few plants on my online shop. So let's go and have a closer look at the different varieties of Saracenia flava. Okay, so over here we have Saracenia flava rubra. Rubra, that's the name of it here. It's a naturally occurring variety found in the Florida Panhandle, and it's characterized by these gorgeous clay red coloured pitchers, heavily variegated as you can see, and on the top there it's green, and there's a lot of variegation there around the hood. And this particular variety has been with me since the start of my nursery about 5 years ago, and they really do put on a show. So we're in the mid-November now, well and truly into spring, and Saracenia flava species typically produce their biggest and tallest pitchers in early spring, and that's what you're seeing right here with this display. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, this is how they look like when they first come up. Brand new shoots, very, very lime green. And you can really see the contrast between the tube and the rib there. And as they get older, they get more variegation in the hoods. So not only are they tall, they're around about 60 centimetres tall right now, but the mouth of the pitchers here, they're up to about 5 centimetres, even 6 centimetres across. So they're also large in terms of the width of the pitchers and the hoods as well. This one over here, this is probably about 65 centimetres high. But yeah, that's one variety of Saracenia flava. So all these varieties that I'm showing you guys are naturally occurring. So if you go out in the wild, you'll see these plants growing out in the wild, this variety, these following varieties, okay? Okay, so over here, this is a different variety altogether. This is Saracenia flava purpurea variety, characterized by these oversized bronze coloured hoods or copper coloured hoods. They're absolutely gorgeous. Look how oversized those hoods are. Now, these hoods are designed to keep the rainwater out. That's for most species, not all, but that's what the lids are designed to do. It also acts as a landing pad for insects, because around the edges here, guys, is nectar. If you touch it, it's actually quite sticky, so it actually lands as a landing pad, and then they end up going on the inside there and end up in the pitcher. So just lift this hood up a bit, just to give you a bit of an indication what purpurea looks like inside. And just to show you how it looks like from the top. Okay, so Saracenia flava again, producing its biggest and best pictures in early spring. Alright, so move along over here now. Oh, there's a fly over here, just indicating just how attractive these North American pitcher plants are to insects. You can see how he's lapping up the nectar there. That's what I'm saying, it acts like a landing pad, as well as keeping the rainwater out as well. Okay, moving along here, we've got another species here. This is Saracenia flava Maxima variety. This is the tag, and this is known by its lack of variegation. That's what makes it so special. Look how beautifully orange the tops of those hoods are. And you can just see here that these tubes are pretty much no veins in there at all. It's just a contrast between the tops of the pitchers, which is copper, and the green coloured tubes. Now each of these varieties have their own unique shaped hoods and pitchers. This one's a little bit more pointed, as you can see. Just another look from above. You've got one developing over here. He'll straighten up that top and he'll start to open up. Now over here, hopefully you can see that there's a bit of a silhouette here. That gives you an idea of just how effective these are at catching insects. Maybe we can have a look inside. There's a bit of a peep, don't know whether you can see that. But every time I'm around here, you can hear buzzing noises and flapping noises of moths. So yeah, colourful and very effective as organic pest controllers. Okay, moving along here, here's another variety. This is Saracenia flava Rugellii variety. These are more lime green coloured hoods, tubes. When they get more mature, they get a little bit more yellowish. But look how gorgeous the base of that hood is. That red coloration, sometimes referred to as the cutthroat pitcher. And you can see how it just contrasts with all the other pitcher plants there, other varieties. So there's the differences amongst the varieties of Saracenia flava plants. It just goes to show that there are variations in the way they look, even though they're in the same species. Now, just what's important to note is varieties are naturally occurring. It's a naturally occurring phenomenon. So if you were to go out into the wild, you'd see these type of plants growing endemically. Now, if you want more of an indication of the differences in the varieties, go to Wikipedia. Again, there's a link in the description box. There's about 7 different varieties. I've just showed you about 4 of them. So another species of North American pitcher plant is Saracenia Leucophylla. They're probably the prettiest because the pitchers look almost flower-like. Fortunately, I've got a couple of plants here to show you, so let's go and have a closer look. So over here I've got Saracenia Leucophylla. So Saracenia Leucophylla, unlike Saracenia flava, have got plenty of white in their pitches, and you can see just how beautiful they look. You'd be forgiven to think that they're actually flowers because of their white coloration, but they're in fact pitches, and they're commonly referred to as the white pitcher plant and also the crimson pitcher plant as well, because some of them get some nice crimson coloration infused into those white pitchers. Now I've actually separated some here just so we can have a closer look at them. So this one here on the right, so these aren't naturally occurring varieties like I showed you with flava, but they're still a good indication of what Saracenia Leucophylla look like out in the wild. So this one's actually a form called red veins. Can't see the red veins now, but later on in autumn, when Saracenia Leucophylla will peak, that's when you'll start to see the red coloration in these pitchers. But you can see how there's plenty of white there, and they do look very, very unique. You can see that those veins there. So these pitchers now are around about say 40 centimeters high, but in autumn or fall, that's when they're going to come up with their tallest and biggest pitchers. Now this one over here, this one is a hybrid. So been selling quite a few of these. These is Saracenia Leucophylla hybrid. So that's a cross between Saracenia Leucophylla and I think, because I didn't have tags with it, it's Saracenia alata, which is another species. So even though it's a hybrid, you can still see there's a strong Leucophylla lineage here, and that's indicated with these white coloured pitchers. Plenty of white there in the hood. There's another one down here. So again, it will produce its biggest pitchers in autumn, and last growing season they got up to 65 centimeters high. So looking forward to autumn, and that's the great thing about understanding the growth patterns of these different species. If you know the growth patterns, you can extend their display throughout the year. So you can have Saracenia flava in early spring, and then Saracenia Leucophylla later on in autumn or fall. So another species within the Saracenia genus is Saracenia purpurea. Now, as the name implies of this species, the purpurea refers to the purple coloured pitchers. Now, this one of course isn't purple at all, but it just goes to show that there are differences of the colours within the species. And compared to the Saracenia flava, they're very, very different, as you can see, but very, very beautiful at the same time. They've still got that same principle in design, where they've got the hoods, they've got the ribbing here, and of course they've got the pitchers down the bottom there to collect the insects that they've caught. But you can just see how bulbous these pitchers are, and it just highlights again the differences amongst the species. Now these veins over here, you can see in the pitchers, apparently they fool the mosquitoes into thinking there's actually blood within those veins, so they get attracted to these pitchers, and a lot of the times they end up into those pitchers. And the great thing about these plants is you can have a good look inside to see what they've caught. A few insects in there, but being low-lying as well, I'm sure they catch their fair share of mosquitoes. But a very, very beautiful species indeed. So here's another plant that I have that I've collected out of my nursery. Love this beautiful red coloration. It didn't actually come with any tags. I'm not really sure what species that is, but it's got a similar sort of size and sort of shape to Saracenia purpurea, and you can see there how the hood is quite pointed there at the top. Same one as this one over here. Of course the red coloration is very different, and yeah, not sure exactly what this is. Could be Saracenia purpurea as well, or even Saracenia rosea, which is another species. So if anyone knows, please leave a comment in the comments box. I'd love to find out what this particular plant may be, but very striking and very beautiful indeed. So far we've discussed that there are up to 11 different species within the Saracenia genus. And amongst the species, you're going to have naturally occurring varieties. That's where you have differences amongst the plants within the same species, and that's a naturally occurring phenomenon. And I've already showed you some of the Saracenia flava varieties here at my nursery. Now, as well as naturally occurring varieties, you're also going to get hybridization. So that's a term to describe a cross between two different species. Now, hybridization can either be naturally occurring or it can be man-made. And often what you have more than one species growing in the one area where they overlap. As a result, you have offspring emerging which have characteristics from both species. And Saracenia are legendary with their ability to readily hybridize, to cross-pollinate from another species. And that's the reason why there's an infinite forms of plants within the Saracenia genus. So let's have a closer look at some hybrids that I have here at my nursery. So here's another hybrid that I have here at my nursery. Very, very striking plant indeed. Look at these burgundy red pitchers and hoods. So from my supply I got these plants, and it came with this tag here, Saracenia flava form red tube crossed with Nalata red throat. Flava and Nalata are two different species, and through selective breeding, the red tube and the red throat, it's come up with this striking hybrid. It's quite a slow grower, but just an example of what sort of hybrid you can come up with. And both of these hybrids over here, I don't think you'll find out in the wild. It's as a result of human intervention and through selective breeding that these hybrids have occurred. So as I said before, hybridization can either occur out in the wild or it can be as a result of human intervention. And what normally happens, growers select certain plants, they cross-pollinate them, and then whatever individuals come up, they then select those plants and then they register those plants as a cultivar. Cultivar stands for a cultivated variety. And a cultivar is as a result of human intervention, as I said, and it's as a result of selective breeding. And I want to show you this one over here. This one's called Dana's Delight. Let's have a closer look at it. So as you can see here, this is Dana's Delight. That's the tag here, and that is a registered cultivar of North American pitcher plant. It's absolutely stunning. It's got these hot pink coloured pitchers, and it's just amazing how bright pink this plant is. And as I said before, it's as a result of selective breeding, human intervention, and then once the characteristics are
obtained that they want, the grower, then they register that plant as a cultivar. It's a registered cultivar, and Dana's Delight is a registered cultivar, cultivated variety. And to maintain this cultivar, what you would do then is divide this plant, and then that ensures that you're going to get offspring which are clones of the parent plant, and that's a form of vegetative propagation, and it's a great way to maintain that cultivar.
So what's really fun with Saracenia and their ability to cross-pollinate and to hybridize is that if you have two different plants, you can transfer pollen from one flower and transfer it to the other one. And if done correctly, you're going to come up with fertile seeds. And what's really fun is not only cross-pollinating and watching those seeds develop, but also watching the seedlings come up and seeing the varieties and forms of those seedlings, because it's as a result of two different species and they're going to have characteristics of both plants. And what's really fun is seeing the variety that nature throws up. And I actually did this about 3 years ago in my previous video. I actually cross-pollinated between this plant and I transferred the pollen onto this Saracenia flava rubra variety. And I'm happy to say these are the seedlings here. So let's go and have a closer look.
Okay, so let's have a closer look at these seedlings as a result of the cross-pollination that I did 3 years ago. Now these seedlings are as a result of cross-pollinating this hybrid over here, this all burgundy red pitcher, and transferring the pollen from that flower onto this rubra variety. So I was expecting red, was also expecting a little bit of yellow as well. Seedlings are pretty much red, displaying a lot of red in there, but there's also some yellow as well. See that right there? Also on the lids there, you can see a little bit of yellow. Over here as well. But as a result, for the first time I did this cross-pollination project, I'm really happy with the results. These are very, very special plants. You can see some yellow down here. It's got quite a lot of yellow in that picture. We'll see what happens when it gets older. There's a little bit more yellow in this picture plant as well. But not only do you see varieties in how they look, you also see varieties in their growth rates. So I know that this Rugellii variety, quite vigorous growers. That's quite a slow grower, the hybrid. So maybe this plant over here has got a lot of the Rugellii trait in it, and that's why it's come up so quickly. Well, quicker than the other seedlings anyway. Look at this one over here. Yeah, so I've got the link in the description box about how to cross-pollinate. It's really fun. Give it a go. As I said, it's the first time I did this, and if I can do it, you guys can too. And the beauty of it is you can choose whatever plants you want in the project. What I could have done, I could have chosen this plant over here, this Saracenia Leucophylla form red veins plant, and I could have crossed that with this red one over here. I'm sure that would have provided a lot of contrast in those pictures, but it's been very rewarding nevertheless. So here's another species of North American pitcher plant. This is actually the one plant that's been divided into 3 separate pots. This particular species is Saracenia rubra, subspecies gulfensis, and it's an Anthocyanin-free. So that basically means that there's no variegation in there. There's no actual red coloration or anything like that. It's just basically a green colour, a yellowish green colour, and that's what makes this particular plant so special. Now let's have a closer look at these pictures. So this one over here, you can just see that those pictures over there, so these are quite immature plants. This tallest one here is probably about, say, 20 centimeters high. But from what research I've done, when it does get more mature, it'll get to around about, say, 40 centimeters high. And here are some of the ones coming up. And I just love that yellow-green coloration. Now it's also referred to as the sweet pitcher plant. And that's because when it produces flowers in early spring, those flowers, which are red in colour, are quite sweet smelling. I haven't had this one long enough to see the flowers, but I'm waiting for early spring when it comes around next. Just want to see how sweet smelling some of those flowers are. And when you compare the pictures to Saracenia flava, so Saracenia flava here on the right, this is the rubra species. They're nowhere near as flared out compared to the flava species. And those pictures, the actual tubes are quite narrow compared to Saracenia flava as well. But can't wait when these seedlings start to come more mature. I'd love to see them one day contrasting with this nice red hybrid pitcher plant that I showed you earlier. I reckon it would look really nice in a miniature garden. So yeah, watch this space.